Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us. Today, we're going to dive into a really profound and, well, ancient call to unity. It's a passage from the Qur'an that gets right to the heart of one of humanity's oldest challenges. How on earth do we find common ground? So let's kick things off with a question that feels just as urgent today as it did thousands of years ago. How can different faiths, each with its own incredible history, its own traditions, find a place to meet? I mean, this is a question that has literally shaped empires and civilizations, and the text we're looking at today offers a surprisingly direct and logical way forward.
And it all begins with this incredible invitation from the third chapter of the Qur'an, Surah Al Imran. It's speaking directly to the people of the scripture. That means Jews and Christians. And it puts a simple, powerful proposal on the table. Let's come together on a common word, a principle that's fair and just for all of us.
So, what exactly is this common word? Well, the text makes it crystal clear. It's all about Tawhid. Now, this is the absolute bedrock principle in Islam. It's the core belief in the pure, unadulterated oneness of God. The idea is that this shared foundation, worshiping one and only one God, is the ultimate point of unity. Okay, so you have this beautiful call for unity. But then, almost immediately, the Quran pivots to tackle a huge point of contention from that time, and it all centers around one towering figure, the Prophet Ibrahim. You see, back when this was revealed, different communities were, in a way, claiming ownership of Abraham's legacy. The Jewish community would say, Abraham was a Jew, and the Christian community would say, no, Abraham was a Christian. You can just imagine this spiritual and historical tug of war, with each group saying, he belongs to us. So, to cut through all of this back and forth, the Quran does something brilliant. It asks everyone to just pause, take a step back, and think about the timeline. It poses one super simple, logical question. When did Abraham actually live? And this timeline just lays the whole argument out plain and simple. Abraham was alive and teaching his message of pure monotheism centuries before the Torah was revealed to Moses, and even more centuries before the gospel came to Jesus. The logic is just undeniable. How could he have been Jewish or Christian when the scriptures that define those faiths didn't even exist yet? It's a powerful appeal to just reason. Okay, so if he wasn't Jewish or Christian, then what was he? The Quran gives him this beautiful description, Hanifan Musliman. It means he was someone who naturally inclined towards the truth, a pure monotheist, someone who had submitted his will completely to the one God. And this is the real punchline. The text is totally reframing what it means to be a follower of Abraham. It's saying, look, this isn't about your ethnic identity or a label you inherited. The true spiritual heirs of Abraham are the ones who walk his path, the path of pure submission to the one God. All right, so if the common ground is so clear, what's the problem? What's stopping people from uniting? Well, the text turns to that question next, and it identifies the single biggest roadblock, the deliberate distortion of truth. And it's really fascinating how specific it gets here. It's not just a vague warning. It calls out very precise tactics, like a checklist for intellectual dishonesty. Things like, knowing the truth deep down but deliberately hiding it, or mixing a little bit of truth with a whole lot of falsehood just to create confusion. Even literally twisting your tongue as you speak to make your own words sound like they're from scripture. It's a sharp warning. But it doesn't stop with just general warnings. Oh no, the Quran then pulls back the curtain on a very specific and kind of sneaky psychological plot that was designed to weaken the early Muslim community from the inside. Okay, get this. Here was the plan. A group of people would publicly announce that they've embraced Islam, first thing in the morning. But then, by the end of the same day, they'd publicly renounce it. The goal was pure psychological warfare. They wanted to plant this seed of doubt, to make sincere believers think, whoa, wait a second, they were on the inside. They must have seen some fatal flaw that we're missing, hoping they'd abandon their faith too. And here's the kicker. The masterminds behind this plot gave their followers one clear instruction, as you can see in this quote. They basically said, keep up the act, but only ever really trust the people inside our own circle. It just reveals this mindset of absolute division, an us versus them mentality. So we've looked at the argument about the past, and we've seen the warnings about the present. Now the passage zooms way out to give us the big picture, the grand, clarifying principle. It answers a fundamental question. What is the true mission of any prophet of God? And this gets right to the very core of what a prophet is. The text poses this incredibly powerful, almost rhetorical question. Just think about it. Could a person who is truly chosen by God, given Holy Scripture and wisdom, ever turn around and tell people, hey everyone, forget God, worship me instead? And the answer from the Qur'an is a resounding, absolute, unequivocal no. Not a chance. It's presented as a complete contradiction. I mean, a prophet's entire job is to point people towards God, so telling people to worship themselves would completely cancel out their entire mission. So if that's not their message, what is? The text says a true prophet's call is always to tell people, be Rabbaniyin, which means be pious scholars of the Lord. Their role isn't to be some object of worship. It's to be a teacher, to empower people to learn, and to build their own direct relationship with God. This final question just brings it all home. Would a prophet ever command you to commit an act of disbelief after you had already submitted to God? Directing worship to anyone else, whether it's an angel or even a prophet, is framed as the exact opposite of their entire purpose. So when we pull all these threads together, we see this really powerful layered argument. It starts with this simple, beautiful call for unity based on worshiping the one God. It reframes Abraham's legacy not as exclusive, but as universal. It calls out dishonesty and the distortion of truth as the biggest barrier. And finally, it defines a true prophet as someone who always points to God and never, ever to themselves. And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This ancient text proposed a common word for its time and place. So the question for us living right here, right now, in our own complex world is this: what is that fundamental, equitable, common word that can begin to unite us today? Thank you so much for joining me in exploring these powerful verses. Peace be with you.